Hey YouTube, you're about to listen to my new episode of the Juha Juppi podcast. To make it easier for you, I've already timestamped it so you know exactly when I answer each question. Please leave a comment timestamping what moment you found most helpful, because I want to know what kind of information truly resonates with you. Thanks a ton, enjoy the episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of the Juha Juppi podcast. My name is Juha Juppi, know that as on a stage name, and in today's episode I'm going to be talking about my 4 most thankful moments of 2019. Not going to really mention much about family and friends in this segment, in this podcast, so if I don't mention them, it's not because I'm an ungrateful person and I don't appreciate the family and friends in my life, but I just want to take this podcast into a different direction. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go. Perfect. There you go. What made me think about this? Honestly, I woke up today. I thought, well, kind of want to talk about fitness stuff. Kind of want to talk about mobility stuff. If anybody has wondered what type of name Juha is, what my background is. So I am half Finnish, half Canadian. I guess I'm very Finnish, but anyways, just because I have a very, very Finnish name, and my mom's side is from Finland entirely. Anyways, so in Finland, we celebrate Christmas on the eve. So technically, we did all of our celebrating yesterday, last night. So that's where all of the gifts were exchanged, the family and stuff were exchanged, and I won't really talk much about that. However, I will say that there was one gift that I got that was so wicked, so wicked. I'm so excited for this. Was basically being enrolled in the remote kin stretch class that's going to be being taught by FRC guy, kin stretch guy instructor, Zach Deckelbaum. I've seen him a handful of times. Actually, not. I've seen him a couple times at these FRC seminars, and I've followed him from a distance on Instagram. So I'm definitely really interested to see how everything is structured, and just seeing what can happen through this remote kin stretch membership. I am super excited for it. Kin stretch is something that I look forward to learning more about, and it starts January 6th, and right now, until then, this membership gives you like a couple videos on going through cars and a few sample classes, so I'm excited to go through those. I'm very excited to go through those. But anyways, so I think today can definitely be a short podcast as well, medium short, because this is episode 4, so I just wanted to say 4 things. Doesn't really have to take a long time to really discuss all of them, but which, by the way, also I have to preface and say that these are not in order of importance. So just because something is number 4 doesn't mean that it's less important than the first thing that I'm about to say. It's just a matter of how they popped in my head. So, anyways, the one of the most thankful moments that I have had during this year is, and it's not even just one moment, but it's been moments about like the progression into this, but it's been the fact that my role with the team that I work with the swim team that I work with, has kind of grown from strength coach, has kind of grown from working with the swim team throughout the week to then also being somewhat of a support staff at the swim meets. In the past, I've attended some swim meets every once in a while to to cheer on, to like be there in the stands to support there. But this year has really the opportunity has granted itself, and I've taken it upon myself to be going there as a support staff. And there was a moment a couple months ago where there was a meet like a couple hours outside of the city, so that was really fun to go out with them, stay the night at a hotel, kind of do the whole thing, gather everybody, go to the meet, have everybody go to lunch, bring them back to the meet, take them to the hotel for some downtime, and, just kind of fit in some dryland work, fit in some kind of like, not rehab, but fit in some FRC stuff. That like, hey, if your ankle is bothering you a little bit, let's do these couple things just to mitigate certain pain symptoms that you're feeling, so that when we return back to the pool in a few hours, you're feeling better. Or we can do this for your elbow, we can do this for that. Just kind of making sure that they are ready for that. Because when I look at these meets, obviously there are a lot of talented swimmers, but I noticed that I never see any strength coaches there. Or maybe for some of these teams, the swim coach may double as part of the strength coach. They may do two things in one, maybe. I'm not certain. But anyways, at least like when I'm on deck with them, when I'm kind of in that circumstance, maybe not even on the deck, but just, in that environment, I don't really see it happening all that often. And that's really been interesting, and that's really been fun for me to just be a part of that process, take them through activation, take them through whatever that needs to be done to have them ready for the race. That's been super exciting for me. And of course I'm thankful for that, because it's not necessarily a bigger role, it's about having a bigger impact. There you go, that's the word. Not bigger role, that's not what I was trying to say. That's a really big thing for me. And it's just more things to think about. It's more challenge for me. It's more, I get to use more of my education. I get to be more creative. And the more creativity that I get to bring to the job, I notice that there's a direct correlation with kind of like creativity, time, and enjoyment and fulfillment. So yeah, that's something. I could probably talk about that for a long time, but that's just one thing I'm very, very thankful for. A couple of these things are not even necessarily about fitness too. Number two, one of the things that I'm most thankful for this year is the Toronto Raptors Championship. Oh, in which I didn't actually bring any of the stuff, but anyways, I have too many Raptors stuff, where like a certain book of like Raptors facts, or like I got one of those knockoff $20 championship replica Raptors rings. That's like really exciting for me. But anyways, why am I so thankful for it? Because anybody who lives in Toronto, anyone who is from Toronto, or even when we were in the NBA Finals, it was like the whole of Canada. But when you root for a home team for so long, it was just crazy. I can't say that I'm one of those fans that have been cheering for the Raptors ever since I was 3. My kind of brief stint into basketball was when I was like 12. My uncle introduced me to it because he liked the Raptors, so then I started watching the Raptors, and that's when we had Chris Bosh, those kind of days at like 2006 to 2007-ish, and that's when our roster was like Chris Bosh, Andrea Bargnani, Jason Capono, Joey Graham, TJ Ford, Jose Calderon. We didn't have Turkoglu. No, that was later. Yeah. Maybe there are a couple people that I'm missing off that roster, but anyways, that's when we had those individuals. And I remember thinking like, wow, Bosch is amazing. Bargnani can be the next Dirk Nowitzki with him being a number 1 overall draft pick. Jose Calderon is so good, but why is TJ Ford coming off the bench? Capono was wicked. He won a 3-point contest. There's just so much. Joey Graham, also one of the first Raptors games that I ever went to live. I was able to get somewhat close, like in like the 100 section, and like just seeing how jacked some of these guys are. And Joey Graham, man, his shoulders look like boulders. They were ridiculous. Anyway, so cheering from that, so I've been like cheering on since the Bosch days, and then there was a brief stint when Bosch left to go to Miami, and then I stopped watching for a brief stint, but then after that kind of stopped, and then we entered into like the Lowry DeRozan trade, the whole Masai Ujiri building the infrastructure for everything. That's kind of when I like started paying greater attention again, because it's, you know, it wasn't as fun to watch the NBA at the time because it was just pure super teams. It was great. LeBron and Miami's gonna go to the finals for 4 straight years. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, so just being a part of watching all of that and like watching the Raptors games through the regular season. Last year during the playoffs, that's when I watched my first game in Jurassic Park. It was like game 1 against Orlando, the one where we were winning, but then DJ Augustine hit that game-winning 3 at the end of the 4th over Kyle Lowry. I think Lowry scored like 0 points that game, but then we went on to win 4 in a row in that Orlando series against Philadelphia. I think I saw two games. I definitely saw game 6. Wait, no, I saw game 5. Yes, I saw game 5 because that one was a blowout. Yeah, I saw game 5. Did I see game 1 or 2? I forget, but I saw 1 or 2 games in the Philadelphia series. One of, I guess, the quote-unquote regrets was I remember when I was looking at tickets, I wanted to get tickets for a game late in the series, and I had a choice, either so this was before the series actually started. This was before game 1 even happened, so I didn't know how long the series was going to go, and I had a choice. I'm like, game 5 or game 7, but I'm like, there's no guarantee that game 7 is going to happen, but there is a guarantee, I would say, pretty confidently speaking, it would go at least to 5. So I ended up watching game 5. That was an absolute blowout. Raptors won by like 20 something or like 31, I forget, but it was just absolute domination. But I could have went to game 7, but prior to the series even starting, before even seeing 1 minute, I thought, I don't know if I want to buy tickets, and then the game doesn't even end up happening. So I had an opportunity to go watch game 7, but I didn't go to that, but that's okay. In the Milwaukee series, I saw, so this was the last game that I had seen then. The final Raptors game that I had watched in the playoffs was the Milwaukee game 3. That was the one where we were down 0-2, and then we were down going into the 4th, and then it went to overtime, and Kawhi was limping, and he kind of just like willed us into getting back into the series. And he was, limping that game. I think that was the game where Lowry passed the ball back to Kawhi for a dunk over Giannis. That was just so good. I didn't watch any games live in the finals because tickets were like $1,000 almost just to walk into the building, and I wasn't going to do that. So where was I? No, I just like watched, oh my god, and it was even so tough to just find anywhere to watch the Raptors games in the finals. So I think, I remember when they won, I think that I was just watching it at home, and then as soon as the buzzer hit 0, I called an Uber, and I just went downtown immediately and just partied and just celebrated with everybody downtown. That was awesome. Oh yeah, for game 5 of the finals, I slept overnight in Jurassic Park to watch that game, and that was the game that it came down to 1 shot. Kyle Lowry took the game-winning shot, but it was tipped by Draymond Green. Anyways, just the whole storyline of fans cheering for a team for so long and to finally win our first championship, yeah, I'm thankful. Yeah. If I watched just the right replay, just the right highlight, that still gets me emotional. Like the tribute video that we made for Kawhi, where like everything was dark and it just had the footsteps of him running around, showing the path that he traveled. Oh my god, that was crazy, crazy. Next one, numero tres, is one of the most thankful moments or thankful people that I am thankful for is positive social media influencers and coaches, and that's just kind of the category, but it's easier for me just to talk about it. And you know, when in doubt, whenever I've had second guesses about kind of some of the directions I should be taking or some of the bigger choices I should be making, I'm lucky to at least have some positive influences in my life, or some mentors or some coaches. And one of like the most positive influences in my life, not that so I've only met this so there's a company called Jump Cut. Are they still called Jump Cut? Maybe. Anyways, guys, had a YouTube channel years and years and years ago called Simple Pickup. They turned it into Project Go, that taught people how to pick up girls, and then they made a product on how to become a YouTuber, then made another product on how to become an entrepreneur, how to make an automated income business. And anyway, so I've just followed like those guys for a long period of time, and one of those guys I've been able to interact with a handful of times over the years. He did a meetup in LA a few years ago, and I went to that. He did a meetup in Toronto last year, and I went to that. And God, I've listened to his podcast like a million times. I've like listened back to some of the advice that he's given me so many times. I've went back into our chats before. I've went back and continue to watch the information products that he gives, just because I don't know, there's a segment of like when you just watch someone and you just believe that they're good of heart. It just kind of, sometimes when you doubt things, sometimes you can just watch it and say, hey, yeah, that's the direction that resonates with me. So I guess someone like Kong Pham is like the CEO, the main creator guy, who's been a part of the whole thing. It used to be 3 people: Kong, Jesse, and Jason. And then Jason did his own thing, effed off after some time, and then it was those two, and then Jesse effed off and did his own thing, and now it seems to be Kong. But anyways, that yeah, they have had a greater influence over me than they will know. And then someone who's been wickedly, just, they've been so helpful over the past like 90 days, more so over the past like 5 days, because they were anyways, this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. He's actually the reason why I end up starting this podcast, because I was taking the information that I was hearing from other outlets on like, this is how you build this is how you establish this, or branding yourself this, becoming a name this, having consistency with this. And it was really hearing, I guess, Gary V's outlook on not really caring too much about what other people say, and just posting a lot, posting like 50 to 100 times a day. It's been like day 4. Also, it's probably been a little bit harder that I've started this. I've started posting around Christmas time, and I've had a lot of commitments. Yeah, it's funny. I was like, I'm trying to think in my head, like, what's the word that you say when you don't really want to say what it is and you want to be vague? No, I've just had a lot of commitments. I've just spent a lot of time with family or doing things, just going out and about. And but anyways, it's been a little bit hard to consistently post over the last couple of days, and that's when I've started about 4 days ago. So the most I've been able to post has been 37 pieces of content in a day to date. But I'm sure that I'll get up to those crazy numbers, and just to get into the rhythm of posting again. I used to post a lot years ago, and I was never able to keep the consistency, but hopefully this can help me keep the consistency. So sometimes when I just need some inspiration, when I need like a reminder to continue going down the path that resonates with me most, sometimes most of the time I look to people like Kong, and recently people like Gary Vaynerchuk, which he says a lot of the same things. I notice, like, if you watch a couple of his videos, you kind of get the gist of it, but it's still motivating to hear the same thing repeated because it enforces it. But he also has that Wicked series where he sells things at garages. No, Trash Talk. Yeah, there you go, Trash Talk. He has that funny series called Trash Talk where he goes to garage sales and purchases things for 10 cents or $1 and tries to sell them again for $20 or $200 depending on the thing. So anyways, that is really just pure entertainment for me. And then the last thing I'll talk about briefly is time. This year I'm really grateful for time because at the age I'm at, I felt like at one point it felt like time was really moving slowly. Sorry, no, the opposite. It felt like time was moving so fast. And when you're nearing, at least for some people, when you are nearing like an anniversary date, like when you're, so for example, I was talking recently to someone who's 19 and they're like, oh man, I really don't want to be 20. I love being a teenager. Or when you talk to someone who's 24 going to be 25, or 29 to 30, 39 to 40, whatever that number is for you. Sometimes when you're caught in the storm of like a big number coming up, you kind of feels like time is moving fast. But at least hearing some of the perspectives from Gary V lately, it really feels like, at least now in my life, I can genuinely say feels like time is moving slow. Feels like I have a lot of path left on this road that is, the landing strip for my plane to take off. I feel like I probably butchered that. I tried to sound poetic there, but I probably didn't sound very poetic. Like, man, there's just so much in life. Like, I have a friend that is basically a professional nomad. Travels to one country for anywhere from a few months to a year, and then he goes to a different part of that country for a few months or a year, then goes to a different country. Was in Canada, traveled all around Canada doing different nomadic things, and now is in Australia, and maybe we'll go to another country after some time. Like, when you really live in the moment, at least that's what it seems like for him, like when you really live in the moment and don't think about working for the weekend, so to speak, to put air quotes, when you don't dread the Monday, when you can just like live in the moment and enjoy your time, feels like things move so slowly. And to think, like, if you really put a lot of work, like at least over these last 4 days, it feels like time has moved really slowly because trying to do a lot. You're trying to do a lot. It feels like although time moves fast, at the same time you realize if it takes so much effort to do a lot of work in one day, it kind of puts perspective into like, you can put all this effort and it's only one day. Like, you can put all of this exhaustive work and focus into a project, into a couple pieces of content that takes you 24 hours from start to finish, but then to realize that's only 24 hours and life is so much longer than that. You could do that 300 more times and that would still be such a small percentage of life. So anyways, that's going to conclude my 4 things that I'm thankful for this year. Of course, family and friends, but I just didn't want to take this podcast in that direction. Let me know the one thing that you are thankful for in 2019. So, thank you once again, everybody, for listening. Once again, my name is Juha Juppi. Thank you for listening to the Juha Juppi podcast. As usual, this podcast, it's all over the place. You can find this podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and feel free to look in the comment section below of this video or this podcast, and I'll have a link to my social media. You can just search Juha Juppi, Juhajuppi, on almost any social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm trying to be on it. Okay, anyways, that will do it for me today, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.